Hey folks, thought it would be a good time to talk to you about filters inside of OBS. OBS has the advantage of using not just video filters but audio filters that they call them. In the world of audio engineering and music production, we would call these plugins. So these plugins affect the audio signal for the betterment of your stream or your broadcast. And I'm going to show you a little bit how I've got mine set up and what to look for and what to avoid and what things are going to make it easier for you. So on your main screen of OBS, on your main output, whatever you choose to bring inside of OBS and then process from there, you go down to the little cog, click on that and go to filters. And inside of here, you can see that I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got a peak catcher over here. I've also got the basic compression that I'm doing across my whole broadcast just to keep all the levels consistent, so music's not louder than the voice or vice versa, and they're not fighting, so they're actually all working together. And I use that plugin. I've also got in the chain there a little bit of a, because I do primarily music and talkback kind of thing, a little bit of an EQ. So this EQ boosts the bottom end a little bit and also the top end of the audio frequency spectrum. And then at the very end, I've also got a limiter which just catches anything that might just get too loud, so that it's just not a distraction for your listeners as to what they're actually listening to. So for example, you can actually turn, as you would inside a scene or a source inside of OBS, you can just turn these on or off, but these will affect what goes on to your audio signal before it goes out to your listeners. You can't actually monitor these easily yourself unless you've got a setup that does that. I send all my signal through OBS and then through that, but I've already tested this. So I've put this in another situation and tested this in a digital audio workstation Reaper and put my music through it and just listen to how each thing interacted. Now I've shown you something that's probably pretty elaborate and you kind of like, whoa. If there was only one thing I could do, I would use this leveler here, the VCL25A from Fuse Audio Labs. Worthwhile absolutely getting, because that will help just balance your whole broadcast out. So no loud peaks that people aren't expecting that sort of rip their ears off. You don't want that. And that's the one that I would go for. So for example, if none of these were here, what I'd want to do is just you go to add. So you want to, these are the internal ones that are inside OBS. I've chosen not to use those because I would rather use the tools that I know better. So if I want to go to a VST2 plugin. Okay, now if you don't have any of these in your system already, this is why I'm suggesting again, Fuse Audio Labs do have a VST version, which is a VST2 version, which will work inside of OBS. So not all plugins will do that. So I can go into there, I can select the plugin. So these are all the ones that are available to me that I've got in my system that will work inside of OBS. So there it is there. Click on that and open the plugin interface. So that'll give me another version. And at the beginning of your, as soon as you open up OBS, you can actually click on this button here, and that will mean that it will open straight away if you want to view it or if you want to have it on screen, which is what I do at times. So, and then you can make your adjustments from here. So your input gain, your release times, where the audio signal will actually become affected. You can see my voice as I move this down now. It's now starting to compress what's going out. You won't be hearing that right this second because I'm recording this through a different direction, but that would be going out to my stream, so that I know that if I speak a little bit too loudly, it's already pulling back that signal just to calm it down a little bit, but you still grab the intensity of your voice and whatnot. So that gives you a bit of an idea. If I flick at the VU meter, now it can see my voice, how it's moving. Give it a little bit of output gain, and now you can see what it's doing on the positive side versus taking away the signal, so you can see what signals are moving. But that's all you need to do. So that is now part of my broadcast chain inside of OBS. So it's sitting basically before the output here, and that's what's going. So if I actually turned that off, you would see that it's not quite the same. It's dropped back the volume over here on the meters because I've been actually boosting the volume but compressing the amount of volume, so the peaks are lower and the low parts are higher, and just keeping a more median type sound, and that just makes broadcast listening a lot easier on the ears for your listeners, and not so fatiguing with loud peaks and noises that people aren't ready to be used for. So that's kind of how that works. So you can put a number in that chain, or if we go back to there again, go back to filters, and as you can see, there's a number that you can put inside that chain, and that's limitless. And you want to put it in a setting that makes more sense. So you can utilize whatever is available to you here, and these come up with different scenarios. So if you want to use the onboard compressor, there it is there. It's not so pretty to look at, but it gives you an idea of some of the things that you can use, and it will do a similar thing. But utilizing something with a graphical interface over here, I find that far more pleasing, and definitely for what I'm doing, it sounds far more musical than the onboard effects inside of OBS. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea about how to utilize the plugins that are available inside of OBS, but more to the point that you can actually import your own into there and make it your own, and your broadcast sound is it's something that's unique to you, and that's why using outboard third-party gear such as these plugins here from Fuse that work inside of OBS, because they are VST2, and that's what you need to make sure that you remember. VST2 are the ones to deal with. So there you go, folks. Hopefully that's made something a little bit more mystical, something a little bit easier to understand, and how to use audio plugins, or filters as they're called, inside of OBS as part of your chain, part of your stream. All right, happy streaming. Cheers.